We've spent a couple of weeks asking about, how do you prepare a quarterback? It looks like O'Connor's been started last week. It looks like he's been playing most of the game, but do you prepare for both? And what do you see, in Michigan State at the quarterback position?
Well, he could be the one playing, but if he's not, I don't think their offense changes a whole lot. I think the preparation's going to be pretty much the same, regardless of who's behind center. They're very, very diverse offense. A lot of formations, a lot of motions, a lot of shifts. Equally balanced in terms of being able to run it and throw it. I don't think that the play selection is necessarily going to change regardless of who's back there. So we'll go with that thought in mind at this point.
How much do you think a week of rest, how big of a difference was that for your linebackers? It seemed like they were more ready to go this week.
Well, yeah, we put in a good hard week of work in the bye week, and that doesn't necessarily mean hitting, but in terms of repetition, so we get good recognition of formations and plays. We did get a lot of that good work in the bye week, and certainly that factored into how well we reacted to things that we saw in the game. And I think particularly for the Mike and the Will, probably the front seven in its entirety is probably as well as we've played against the run, with the exception of 2 plays in this last game against Indiana.
Jay, both you and Coach Ash mentioned after the game the lack of wins on 50-50 balls downfield. Coach Ash just mentioned it again. This week, anything you guys could do? Is there a specific drill you add to practice to work on more of those? How do you, because it seems like kind of a niche thing, how do you guys practice winning more of those 50-50 balls?
Well, all you can do is continue to put them in those situations and make sure that they understand on those throws the technique that they're supposed to use down the field, and it depends on where you're at relative to the receiver. And just make sure that the guys understand what technique we want. 50-50 balls are called 50-50 balls for a reason, I guess. Both guys go up and have an equal shot. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. And up until Saturday, we'd won our fair share of those and more, in my opinion, but it didn't work that way Saturday. So we just got to go back and really, the main thing, I guess, from my perspective is to reinforce the confidence that we have in those guys, because they have played well and they have been consistent. And as the old saying goes, the corner is the best thing you can have is a short memory. And so, those guys just got to go back and realize if they play like they can, they'll be fine.
Coach, I have a 2-part question for you. Coach Ash said earlier that he thought the linebacker showed signs of improvement from last game. Can you comment on that? And then secondly, if that is the case, does that improvement now allow you to incorporate more schemes or more blitzes in what you do as a defense?
I had a little bit of trouble hearing you there, but I think I got what you said. Just go ahead one more time.
Okay, so Coach Ash talked about the linebacker showing improvement this past game against Indiana.
Right.
Could you comment on that? And also, if that is the case, does that allow you now to incorporate more schemes and blitzes into your defensive packages?
Well, I agree with his assessment. I think that was the best game that they have played so far this year, and hopefully they continue to improve and progress from there. It was encouraging to see. I think you have to be really careful with adding a lot of new defense week to week. Particularly the Michigan State is a perfect example, because while Indiana was a lot more stationary, if you will, with their formations, there weren't as many because of their tempo. They don't like to trade motion and shift. It just doesn't fit in with the tempo game, that style of play. You go into the Michigan State week, now you got people moving around all over the place. So if you add more defense in an already confusing preparation, then I think that's a recipe for disaster. So we'll keep that all in mind as we put the plan together, and we'll obviously come up with what we think is best. But to your point, we're going to try to continue just to improve at what we're already doing. If there's something we can add in, with calculated thought, we'll do that.
Coach, Michigan State's really been struggling this season with their discipline on offense. They lead the Big Ten in penalties, and that really killed them against Illinois this past weekend. Is there anything you can really do with your schemes or defensively that can take advantage of that, their lack of discipline?
Well, defensive football is a lot about alignment and reaction. I think once you study the formations and you figure out what if there are any tips to the formations and things like that, then there's possibly some things you could take advantage of. We've gotten maybe a third to halfway into the game plan. There's a lot more that we have to really process and figure out. So I guess it's a little premature to answer that, but we'll be looking at that as we move through it.
Jay, in practice this week, what are you looking for from the three safeties when you decide how you want to rotate them?
Consistency. That's the number one thing. I think all have shown signs of quality play, and hopefully they'll continue to do that. And hopefully all three compete really hard and make it a really tough decision. And honestly, the best scenario is they all play well enough and practice well enough that they're ready to contribute and do contribute. I think if you get them all, some reps in the game, that's going to make you better down the stretch, especially in the fourth quarter.
Jay, to follow up Sam's question, with the other day with Chaffee not playing much, Coach Ash just indicated he's been dealing with some injury issues. So was a little bit of both? Was it performance and injury? I mean, the fact that he didn't play much?
I think that some of the things that have been nagging him led to what the performance issues on the field. And certainly he's played at a higher level than what he did on Saturday, and I think those two things do relate. Hopefully, he gets himself back to where he feels comfortable this week, to where he can play like he can and like we've seen him do. And I'm fully confident that will happen. All right. Thank you.